keep America great.
Trump campaign is now reaching voters online.
Welcome to the Veterans for Trump online battle brief.
Thank you for joining us today.
And welcome to Women in Power Hour.
Hey everybody, good evening and welcome to Team Trump Online.
Good evening everyone and welcome to the Army for Trump Digital Boot Camp.
Charlie, thank you so much for being with us.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Team Trump Online's War Room Weekly.
You know, it's exciting to be here, first of all. I served 20 years on active duty. I retired a gunnery sergeant, as you had said.
Yesterday, Joe Biden did an interview with Bernie Sanders, similar to what we're doing right now.
In times of crisis.
And it was a conversation with a colleague. I mean, don't forget, Joe Biden was in the Senate for 30 years or whatever it is. So is Bernie. They've known each other forever. And Joe Biden is clearly on a teleprompter.
I like to close by saying, Bernie, as Jill and I told you and Jill.
You know, the people in Tennessee are so supportive of the president, and they've really appreciated the leadership that he has brought to bear.
We built the greatest economy in the world. I'll do it a second time.
It's a completely different look for a presidential campaign, but this campaign was built for this moment, being data and digitally driven since day one.
We flipped into a virtual operation within 24 hours when it took Joe Biden 4 days to set up a podium in his basement.
There's no one else in this world who could be doing what Donald Trump's doing now.
Thank you again, everybody. Stay safe,
stay healthy, and together we're on to victory.
And we are going to keep America great.
Hey everybody, I'm Lara Trump and this is the latest episode of Team Trump Online. Today we are so lucky to be joined by our very own campaign manager, the man himself, Brad Parscale. Brad, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Laura.
All right, you and I, Brad, have really kind of been in charge of the campaign since the president took office. We built an incredible infrastructure, brought a great talented team together, but we had to quickly shift into a virtual campaign when we were faced with the realities of coronavirus. We can't hold the campaign rallies that the president loves, that all the people across this country love attending. We can't do our bus tours, but I think we made that shift rather flawlessly. Tell the folks at home how we were able to make that shift so quickly, so seamlessly, and I give you, Brad, a lot of credit for that.
Well, I appreciate that. When social distancing first occurred, I mean, it was a transition for the campaign, but I think because we built the entire infrastructure of a campaign on a digital first attitude, because we knew how important it was in 2016, how the country has changed the way we consume information and digest politics and what we want to do and what we want to have for dinner. Everything starts at the internet. And so I think since we had built, even back 3 years ago, I think, Laura, you and I had the conversation, I don't want a digital department. I want everyone to be digital. No one's not digital. Digital's a medium. Digital's not a thing. That we're going to individually do in one department. So when we had to go to social distancing, we had to move home, we were very, very close to already being an all digital campaign. We had to make a few things, mainly the events and the rallies and start the virtual stuff, which I just said today on television that I'm going to continue to, we won't shut that down afterwards. It's actually been an advantage to learn how to produce this much content, get Lara up on the internet every day and other people on every day. It's been an advantage that we've now had to focus on how to do that. So we go back to the ground game, we won't remove that portion as we get back at the rallies. But I do think that inherently we had built and built a team that was young, very dynamic and understanding the web, very hard workers. I've been very impressed by everyone at the home, how hard they've worked. I haven't had to really even deal with one staffer that has slacked while being at home. And that just shows how much these people care, and all of our staff and women and men alike love the president and want to help him win 2020.
No shock maybe to many of us, but someone who really hasn't adjusted well, Brad, to the online campaign platform is Sleepy Joe Biden. In fact, the best that they've got is Biden in the basement. What do you think Biden's problem is? Is he just too old to do this? What's the story with Joe Biden?
Well, we have I'm not going to get into specific on what they're doing. I think that they don't have the staff and have had the time to build out like we have. But in over 5 years, and really the president since 2015 has built an online presence, starting with Twitter, then we added Facebook, and we continued down the things. And now we have, tens of millions of people online that we have access to. We built a robust content distribution team and production team. We have a robust team that knows how to use it. We have people dedicated to productions like this today. The diversity of staff we have and their individual goals, but still the team-oriented goal of a plan that our team does such a good job, produces so much content. Our content's engaging, and also I just think we say things people want to hear, and we're not completely lock and beholden to our far radical side of our party the way they are completely stuck and only talking about the things the far radical left want.
We can also form a coherent sentence, which also gives us quite an advantage, I think. An article recently said that Joe Biden's videos are getting less than 10,000 views. And if you compare that with our over 1 million unique views that Team Trump online events are getting every single day, it really seems like Americans just aren't that interested in what Sleepy Joe has to say. So why do you think Americans are not paying attention to Joe Biden's message, even in the online events?
I don't know if Joe Biden's getting any less than probably traditional politicians were doing for years. I think the real thing is the president is so significantly popular, and so people want to hear what he has to say. They want to see what he's going to do next for this nation. I think the president is an engaging transformer of the way we saw politics, and I think people are engaged in that. They want to be involved in it. I don't know if Biden is failing, but Biden's failing like every politician did before him, and in a lot of both parties in some senses. The president is taking it to a new era. Is taking this country to a new place, and that's why he said he was going to make it great again. And I think people are waiting to watch every day to see how all of his surrogates and the president are going to continue to do that. And I think that's getting record numbers.
Yeah. All right, Brad, we thought this would be a very fun opportunity for voters across the country to ask you some questions.
Oh my goodness.
So I hope you're ready to roll. I do have a quick bone to pick with you. I want everyone at home to know that I am in New York, where it's about 35 degrees and it's freezing. Brad is at his home in Florida, where it's sunny and beautiful and amazing, but I digress.
You could have chosen to move to Florida with your father-in-law also. He's a Florida resident with me.
Maybe we'll
we both
switch
became Florida residents in the last couple of years. It's not a bad place to live. After spending time up north for 20 years of my life, I've decided to spend the second half of my life where it's nice and warm.
Well, we can't blame you for that. All right, so we're going to start with Philip from Silver Spring, Maryland, who asks, how would Joe Biden reverse all of the progress we've made as a country economically and financially under President Trump? What do you think, Brad?
Well, first of all, I think he's going to bring back the policies of the late administration that was just devastating everything from moving more manufacturing and supply chain things to China, which we've seen are devastating to our country right now at the time of coronavirus and what's happened. The fact that we moved so much manufacturing and portions of our lower portions of our supply chain over there have been devastating. Much of that came from that. I think he would reverse most of his trade deals. He thinks he loves that love from the other countries more than he loves loving our own people. And I think that would also be devastating. I think he would reverse some of those trade deals. I think that we would have a problem with, North Korea, Iran, where foreign relations were about, paying them off, but letting them get away with anything. I mean, there's thing after thing after thing, but I think the most thing that would suffer is the American worker. I think it would go back into flyover country. It would go back into give to the elite few and the far radical left and their desire to feel good about themselves and other things I won't get into on this show. But I also think, I absolutely believe that Biden would be a devastating force to this movement. I believe what the president said on the first day took office. This isn't the end of the fight. This is the beginning of the fight. And we're just about halfway there. And so I think everyone needs to step up and show up to vote. And I think 4 more years of President Trump will engrave this for the future of the country.
Yep. You got that right. And we also know that Joe Biden, don't forget, raised his hand on stage to say that free health care goes to all illegal immigrants under his watch. He's a champion now, apparently, of the Green New Deal, which would, bankrupt so many of the industries in this country, all of the energy industries in this country. Now that we are finally energy independent, thanks to President Trump, he wants to go the other direction. It's just totally crazy.
Let's be honest. He wanted to use the bailout to, how great the country has done, under the leadership of Mnuchin and other leaders, and cabinet members under the president. It's $2.4 or $2.5 trillion. He wanted to use it just like Nancy Pelosi to change American life, not to help small businesses across the country, not help individuals who are struggling, eating to get by until we can get the other side of this curve. But he wanted to use it to dramatically change the country as it is. To destroy more jobs. So why we're destroying jobs, let's destroy more so we can rewrite the country in our textbook, utopia that we think it could be, and just destroy the economy forever. And I think that you see a lot of the far left radicals supporting that. And I think if people really see what Biden was saying to do, they should be, if anyone in this country that has a job from a small business, work for a small business, work for anything where you have an entrepreneur spirit at all, you should be devastated by what he said and completely vote for President Trump to support your future earnings, income, and support of your family.
Yep. Okay, next question comes from Andrew from the great state of North Carolina, my home state, who asks, with some people only watching CNN to get their news, that's so sad, but sadly true, how do you make sure more people know how bad Joe Biden really is? That's a good question.
Well, look, I think Joe Biden does a lot of his work himself. He's almost the gift that keeps on giving when it comes to political, parodies in a way, almost like, look, elections come down to a lot about contrast. Contrast is economic policy, foreign policy, just their viability, I can name 1,000 words of contrast. I think Biden does a very good contrast for the president, which is showing a person who works tremendously hard, who is, stays on his wit. Stays up there 2.5 hours asking complex questions for reporters, whose literally entire sole purpose is to ask him a gotcha question.
Yep.
I don't give a crap about anybody behind him or what's going on. The whole point is to see, can I rattle him? The president has almost turned this into like an entire event now. It says, for 3 hours, I dare you to try to rattle me. Biden can answer a question from a canned that he already knows is coming on a TV interview.
With his notes in front of him, Brad. With the notes, like you just laugh, he's looking down the whole time.
No, but he already, I guarantee you, from doing enough interviews myself with friendly reporters versus unfriendly, there is no way MSNBC is not telling him what those questions are before he's doing that interview. And he already has forgotten what he needs to say, has to read the notes, still can't put a statement together and completely messes it up. The fact is, and a lot of people have ever done these interviews, if you're just messing people's names up, messing up entire facts, don't know what year September 11th happened, there is something missing. Anybody that's alive right now my daughter was 2 at the time, and she knows when September 11th was. And I think that is, there's some pretty sad ones out there. And I feel bad for him. I wish his wife would pull him out of this and, let him go up to Delaware and sit on the beach for a while.
Maybe that will happen on November 4th, because you and I both know we're going to work every single day to make sure that President Donald Trump gets 4 more years. All right, Brad, we're going to take a quick break. Everybody stay with us. We'll be back with more Team Trump Online. Stay right there.
In 2016, we built an unbeatable operation that changed history. Now, we unveil our next breakthrough. The exclusive Trump 2020 app. This isn't just an app. This is your source for real news, not fake news. Straight from the campaign and the president himself. This is your direct line to give input on key campaign issues. Your portal to register voters. Host MAGA meetups. Your scheduler. Your application on becoming a Trump team leader. Join millions and get a front row seat to our virtual events. Watch Team Trump every night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Earn points, get rewarded, get the presidential photo. Oh, and did we mention this is your personal shopper too? So just to repeat, this isn't just an app. This is your tool to keep America great. Join the army for Trump and download the app today.
All right, welcome back to Team Trump Online. I'm Lara Trump, and with me tonight is our campaign manager, Brad Parscale. We just heard how Team Biden has been totally ineffective in switching over to a virtual campaign and unable to connect with American voters. So next I want to talk about the Trump campaign's infrastructure. We've built out a massive operation, Brad, to help get the president reelected. Each department is seamlessly working together to produce online events and maintain voter contacts. Let's contrast the Trump campaign's infrastructure with Joe Biden's team.
Well, I think one of the first places you got to start is with the bank account, what we've done in fundraising. With Trump campaign and the RNC working together and our joint fundraising agreements under Team Magic and Trump Victory, our Republican National Committee and Donald J. Trump for president. Mouthful, but that's how the legal portions work in America. But we have about $250 million sitting in the bank. Those are record numbers. That has come from the great support we have, but also just the time we've spent and the years we've building up our direct contacts, our donors, donations, volunteers, all these aspects. And so if you look at that, the average campaign, a successful one, barely gets over 10 million direct contacts. My guess is, unless Biden stole something from Obama, he's not even close to that at this point. We're directly now getting close to 35 to 40 million direct contacts. By election day, we might close in on 50 million. That will nearly be over two-thirds of all the people that actually vote for the president. Most campaigns ran for 120 days. Like if you look at Biden right now, he's got 6 months, 7 months to go. That's even a little early. He can't really hire yet. We'll be fully operational over 1,200 days. That allows us to build an infrastructure that looks much more professional, like a high-end marketing company, advertising company, and political and see with things built in-house. We're able to turn a dozen videos in a day, memes. We're able to have multiple surrogates on multiple outlets at the same time. We're able to have a comprehensive, multi-dimensional attack, support, fundraising, and overall ground, retail politic operation all running at the same time, while really not being the hectic, most campaigns feel of just, you always hear it's crazy. If you talk to people in this campaign, they say, I've never even worked for a company this organized. So I think that was the benefit of time, the benefit of having great supporters who are willing to donate and had belief in the president and the belief in the Trump family, like you, Laura, and then to have that belief in me to help. I had 20 years experience building advertising agencies, and for the most part, it's 90% the same structure.
Yeah, it's been really amazing, actually, since the president took office. Our main goal has been to streamline this campaign, to get everything set up so that when we got to this place, Brad, I mean, you and I have been talking about it for years. When we got to right now, when we're headed into the official 2020 campaign season, we weren't going to be frantic and hectic like you're saying most campaigns are. And we realized that that was such a shift from 2016 because we were a totally different campaign then. So I'm really proud of all the work that we've done, that our team has done. I think everything flows so well. I think you're right. Nobody feels that crazy, like hectic structure that I think, or maybe it's not structured like a lot of campaigns tend to be. So I want to talk a little bit. Go ahead.
A big part of that, Laura, is that it has a lot of campaigns build a very flat structure, as I've learned reading over the years, reading in the books and reading and listening to people. It's one guy or two people, one woman or one man, and then just everybody sits underneath them as flat as it can be. And in this, we built an organization very similar to larger corporations, where we've empowered young women at our campaign. Over 50% are women. I think it's closing on 60% of all staff are women. We've empowered them to make decisions. I always pull the Wayne Gretzky thing. If your players can't shoot, you'll never win. So he said you'll miss 100% of the shots you don't take. And I think that that's an important thing, to teach your staff how to take those shots. And I think you see when they do make mistakes and you support them and you come in and you educate them and say, look, this is why it didn't work. You have to create ground rules. You can't just let them go crazy. But the overarching is this campaign is full of a bunch of individuals that feel like they're supporting the president directly. They feel like they have the opportunity to stand up and sit and show their talents. And I think that's a very important thing to build a higher kind of a hierarchy that looks better. But then things are firing and winning. This great Pelosi ad we just ran yesterday, Nancy Antoinette, shows the power of just one individual, a young staffer that says, "Oh, I got this idea."
Yeah.
The whole idea was put together and on my computer before I even knew. And I said, "This is brilliant." But that showed you, and then we paid that back, and saying, congratulating them, and then they see the success of it. That builds this campaign of young individuals, or even some older individuals, that now can show their talent. And I think that will be a big part of why the president wins so big in November.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, I want to go back to Joe Biden for a minute. It's pretty evident to anybody who's paid any sort of attention that the Democrats finally propped Joe Biden up enough that he's officially their nominee. I don't really know what his message is. He's struggling to gain traction with people. The Democrat Party seems very fractured. And you contrast that, Brad, with President Trump and the way he's been able to unite the Republican Party and, by the way, attract tons of Democrats and independent voters over to our team. Joe Biden is receiving these half-hearted endorsements from leaders in the Democrat Party. Even Obama didn't endorse him until socialist Bernie Sanders finally did. So do you think the Democrat leaders are maybe embarrassed to back Biden? Is that having an impact on his inability to connect with voters?
I think one of the big numbers, if I was sitting over and on the Biden side as campaign manager, what I'd be really worried about is some of the public numbers that have come out. And even we've seen in some internal polls, the enthusiasm for Biden is just, it's rock bottom. It's one of the lowest enthusiasms I believe many pollsters I've seen state publicly, and some emails I've received saying they've never seen anything this low. Only 24% of Democrat voters are enthusiastic about voting for Biden. That's less than 1 in 4. I mean, that's a horrible number. Where the president has number 60, 70% enthusiasm between possible voters. That's a significant gap. Remember, if one of the things that pollsters got significantly wrong in 2016 and why all the polling was wrong was the enthusiasm people had to go vote. And Hillary, they just didn't have the enthusiasm. The president is really has one number that people just, they just don't give enough respect to. And that is in the mid-90s, Republicans approve of the president's job.
Yeah.
No president has ever had that much support from any party. Now, he does have record low support from Democrats. He is a Republican. He is following the Republican of what we think should be done. And he has not won on one thing and did something else. He won, he's kept his promises, and he's going to do it again. And I think independent voters, some of Bernie supporters who tend to be more pro-worker, are going to come across the lines also. I think Biden will have a hard time without just massive amounts of soft money and the media being on their side to even get close to this election.
The media is doing everything they can to help him out, and he can't help himself. So I don't know how he thinks it's going to get any better here. And you remember, Brad, in 2016, we saw a lot of the Bernie Sanders supporters come over and vote for President Trump because they didn't feel like they wanted an establishment person like Hillary Clinton. I don't think it's going to be much different now for them now that it's Joe Biden, who has been in politics for decades now. It's about the same animal.
Laura, there's another number that people, I'm a statistics junkie, but there is one number that people don't know. They always look at me and they always say, well, Brad, his approval is 48-50. How can he win? He's not over 50. And I said, in 2016, 15% of the people that voted for him didn't approve of him. And then they just look at me and they say, well, if it's 48 plus 15, even close, what's the math then? I said, exactly. I said, so it's very difficult to take someone's number down and say, hey, do you like him? Do you not like him? Would you vote for him? Would you vote for him as contrast? And then when you start to take a Biden and what the real numbers are, there's a few numbers that really pop out. One, when you tell a voter, vote for Trump or Biden, Biden supports giving free health care to illegal immigrants when certain Americans still don't have health insurance.
Yep.
Trump wins in a landslide. Then you tell them Biden's history with China, that he didn't want to close down China. He wouldn't have closed down the travel to China during the coronavirus thing. His just 40 years of corruption with China, his son Hunter Biden, billions of dollars, all the corruption that sits around him. And when you tell them that, even a bigger number comes over the president. So the funny thing is most Americans still don't know what Biden actually stands for. They just know he was a vice president before. And as we get politics, and Americans really see what Biden stands for, I think it's going to be a devastating thing for their campaign, an uphill battle they're not going to have to deal with.
Yep. Well, hopefully we can use that to our advantage. All right, I want to switch and take a couple more questions from the American people for Brad Parscale. Keith from Ripley, West Virginia asks, what is your opinion of Nancy Pelosi showing off her expensive refrigerator and $13 pints of ice cream on a late night show last week?
Well, I also think today, I saw on Twitter her with a what's it, Hermes scarf on for covering.
Oh, yes.
A Hermes scarf, silk scarf for covering.
Hermes, however you want to say it.
I don't know how to say it. I have zero classification and skill set for this. I haven't bought one either way. So, you know, she was out of touch, was tone deaf. While she's denying small businesses and millions of people paychecks, she has a $24,000 fridge full of ice cream. If I remember correctly, some of that ice cream was specialty ice cream that you have to have special delivered out of Missouri, that is hand flown, you know, that has to be flown over, and, you know, FedEx overnight shipments to be able to get it. It's like, you know, hundreds of dollars for an ice cream. I've never eaten anything other than, you know, Blue Bond or whatever that stuff is, blue, you know, whatever. And, you know, I don't know exactly all about how fancy ice cream is. I just had a lot of people email me about it, but it's tone deaf. And I think it was a pure contrast of where the president's sitting right now, working hard, getting up every day, fighting for small business, and Nancy Pelosi's sitting at her private vineyard with her tens of thousands of dollar fridges eating ice cream. Yeah. And I think that's the argument Americans should see when they come to vote again.
Well, there is one thing we know about the president and ice cream, Brad, which is that he always has 2 scoops of ice cream. So we do know that when it
he is an ice cream lover. I don't think against ice cream. Ice cream is very good, but I think it's tone deaf to show your freezer full of the world's most expensive ice creams while you're saying, no, I'm not going to pass some bill for small businesses. Yeah. I mean, she did it in the same session. It was a tone deaf session.
Yep. All right. Another question comes from Linda in St. Louis, Missouri. Why are many of the polls that we see so negative about the president? Now I get this question too, Brad. What are your thoughts?
So it's a convoluted answer. I could sit here for hours and talk about it, but there's some base things. One is we don't have a national election. We have a federal election. Our federal election is based off Electoral College, which is based off of states. Certain states have different populations, different things. Then on top of that, polls are done in different ways. Many of you see are random. Some are registered. Some are likely voters. The worst ones, and you see the most skewed ones, are national random. I mean, in theory, you could have 1,000 people, 600 of them from Western California that actually picked up their phone. You don't know, it's random dialed. So, you know, you could be completely skewed out. Now, they try to add that. Republicans, Democrats try to do it. The other thing they do, they get turnout wrong. They tend to always show more Democrats than Republicans show up. When the last election in 2016, it doesn't show. They try to guess enthusiasm. They think if Biden's the candidate, it'll be like Obama again. But we're not seeing that in the primaries. So there's 1,000 things they can do technically. Just like we're seeing in the models for the CV issue, crap in, crap out. You know, if it's not good data going in, it's not good data going out. What we continue to see in our swing states, and what we continue to see is unprecedented support for the president. Does it go up and down over time? Yes, that's what happens. When you're president, you're under a lot of scrutiny to do things. But I think overall they see that he's protecting American citizens. He's going to bring back the economy, and he'll do the things that make it, you know, make the country great again. And I think that's what he's going to continue to do. It doesn't tell you how much time, so he's going to go back to be that guy right there. And he will be very successful. And I'm 100% sure of that. But polls are, you got to take them with a you know, think about it. The polls had him on election night in 2016 at 49, and I was telling everybody I thought we were closer. I knew we were going to lose the general election by a couple million votes because of California, but I was pretty sure we'd get 306 electoral votes the day of the election.
I actually think when it comes to this president and polls, they have never been right, Brad. I always get this question. Well, and remember they said Hillary Clinton was going to be the next president. No. People are afraid to get out there and talk directly to a pollster and say they support this president because the media has been so manipulative with people, and they're afraid to voice their support for the president.
But the inaccuracy is not always the polls incorrect. The inaccuracy is what's the poll judgment. There are reports out there that President Trump said 50% approval. Okay, We don't elect the president on approval.
Yeah.
You have ballot testing, but it's not an election when 11% of the people say they don't know their answer yet. So they base it based off the 89% that did. Well, that's not the election. You don't get to go in and say maybe, when you go vote. So it's very hard to predict. We use a lot of other kinds of methods and methodology with big data science, polling. We mix together a lot of different information to kind of come up with a better picture of what we think's happening. And then it becomes kind of a curve, almost like what you're seeing right now. We're all learning about bell curves. And we see it like that, and we try to guess where it is. But anyone that tells you an election's binary doesn't know what they're talking about. Everyone thinks they're going to win on election night. Everyone can see a poll that's going to say winning and losing. The American people are a savvy bunch, and they're going to pick they're going to get in there and make a very personal decision. And I would say people can see trends sometimes from polling, but I would say don't judge a win and a loss by the polling. I don't think in either direction. We're always going to compete like we're 1% behind, and we're gonna plow right through this until the president gets a big victory.
Yep. All right, we got Brad off on a tangent on polls. I should have known better. One last question from the people of the country. Ava from Little Rock, Arkansas. You and I have been there together. Wants to know, what is the most important thing we can do individually to ensure President Trump is reelected in November, Brad? Well,
I think tonight, I will tell you, the first thing is go to the Apple App Store, or on your Android, go to the Google Play Store and download Trump 2020. You're going to find a new app there that, you'll see it in this show tonight. You probably saw one of the first commercials showing it. In that app, you will be able to download it. First of all, you'll see messages direct from us, so nothing skewed from Twitter or Facebook or big media. You can get push notifications from us, so no carriers can block it. Sprint, AT&T, Verizon. You can get direct social media messages there, as well as if you don't want to follow those platforms and you don't like to be engaged that way. They're all right there in the app for you, very secure and private for you. There's also ways to get involved. There's going to be events if you don't want to be directly participate, as in doing the work, but just would like to participate. You can go to events, virtual events right now, and in the future when we get back to, or in states as they reopen, we'll add real life events back in when it's safe and the social distancing works. And then lastly, you can see how to get engaged directly. You'll be able to become a digital activist. There's pages of information on how to get on social media, what to do, how to use hashtags, how to fight back. There's ways to get on Trump Talk and how to make phone calls for the president. When door knocking returns, get signed up for that. How to get privately trained by us. We also offer, most people don't know, the Republican Party and the campaign offer through Trump Victory a very extensive training program at different levels. Yep. To help. I'll tell you one of the biggest things you can do. There's one great statistic we found over the last 4 or 5 years with Trump Victory as we've grown the program is if you become a neighborhood team leader, you have an average turnout increase from your neighborhood by 15%. So think if we get tens of thousands of people across the country to be neighborhood team leaders, and they can turn out just a few more people in their neighborhood, that 15% increase considered blowout. And so that's the number one way you can do it. And all of that is available on one page of the app called Engage. Click on there, watch the videos. Laura's a few of them. I might be one, I think. And you can watch through those, and then you can see how you'd like to get engaged, see what you're involved. And all you gotta simply do is click a button, submit, and you'll be contacted from the campaign, and we'll get you out on the road and get you helping.
Yep, and we need everybody out there in full force as we head towards November. So, Brad, I have a question for you. I noticed that you were in your home office. There's a lot going on behind you. Maybe give the viewers at home a couple of your favorite items that are there behind you in your office. So
I have closets full of Trump gear up here. I just put some on. I've always been a fan of Keith Pencil. I think he's amazing. If you don't follow him on Twitter, he's amazing. He's the one that drew this. It's really cool. But I have to say, my favorite items all the time is an anonymous box of stuff I got in 2016. I still don't know who it's from, but I still laugh every day from it, and it's right there. And that's a roll of Hillary Clinton toilet paper that I use every time I'm in a bad mood. I have boxes of it, and I take it into the bathroom, and it's just enjoyable. Since she said so many mean things about me and our campaign and our president, it's just an enjoyable experience. It makes it even more enjoyable.
Enjoyable experience. You heard it here, folks. All right. Well, Brad, thank you for spending some time with us tonight. As always, thank you for your great leadership for the Trump campaign. And we thank you for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much, Laura. Awesome.
All right, Brad, thank you again for joining us. And as Brad mentioned, President Trump has revolutionized presidential campaigning forever. It's now easier than ever before for you to get involved with this fight to keep President Trump in the White House for 4 more years. You can download the official Trump 2020 app on the App Store on your iPhone or on Android from the Google Play Store. Until next time, I'm Lara Trump. Have a great weekend, and we'll see everybody soon with more Team Trump Online.